ultimately either the person sees that entity, that developing entity, as a human being or not. You can, through power structures like scientists in this case, science organizations of science, impose some standards for something to be considered human being. Those will always be arbitrary. We always know, we know that there are practical differences, but there are also, at the fundamental level, for instance, we all know that we're talking about a human being in the very first stages of its development. So, and there certainly is no big difference between someone that is inside a person's belly and another in the other day that person is outside the other person's belly. Of course, there are differences. Some people base entirely their position on whether it's murder or it's not murder. Is it inside of a belly or outside of a belly? That's their criteria. They value the fact that it is now not a parasite, technically. It's not. I don't know if it's technically a parasite. I've seen some very prominent libertarian thinkers here on YouTube defending that it is technically a parasite. I have a certain problem because, well, whatever. But I don't know. Maybe you can tell me. Is a fetus technically a parasite? Like, it's not a... Is it like a tumor? Is it technically a tumor? I don't know. There are lots of facts involved, for instance, in the matter of abortion. It is a human being, that's a fact. It's not an adult human being, that's also a fact. It is totally dependent on the mother, that's a fact. Granting that it's a parasite, it's also a fact. That it's contributing to the mother's decay in health, endangering or at least weakening the mother's vitality, stuff like that. So it's not an optimal thing. It makes the mother vulnerable and stuff like that. It adds a risk to the mother's health, being pregnant. We all know right now with the flu thing, pregnant women have a lot more risk in terms of getting serious complications from the 2009 H1N1 pandemic of flu than people like me, for instance. Well, what I'm saying is, and I'm asking, I'm not even saying, I'm asking, specifically to moral nihilists like me, how do you deal with, how do you propose that we go about debating people? Are we supposed to just stop debating people? Because we all know that debates ultimately have, evaluation criteria, okay? You have evaluation criteria, which are your values, which are the things that you want to achieve or want to hold, okay, maintain. According to Ayn Rand, she had some good definitions as well, meaning definitions that I like, that suit my taste, that I find to be very versatile and useful to my goals. You know what I'm saying? You know where I'm going with this? You cannot. I mean, for instance, persuasion could be a myth. It could be a myth. You put determinism and you put nihilism. Maybe they're the same thing. Actually, fundamentally, I don't know. You can consider them two different things, but what I mean is, how can you then persuade someone of something? You can't. Ultimately, you can only force someone to comply or not. The only way you can persuade someone is by showing them consequences to what they are consciously defending, that they value, okay, in your position, or consequences from their position that will lead to anti-values in terms of their perspective, so that there can be like some sort of cognitive dissonance in that person, because their values are in contradiction with their conscious positions. Okay? So if their values turn out not to be consistent, there's a good chance of either they will change their positions or they'll change their values. But as Alonzo Fife from Desire Utilitarianism, now there are people calling it desirism, says, you can't really change someone's values through persuasion, through reason. That's what he says. The only time when you are talking to someone and trying to convince that person that your position is better. Why is anarchy better than statism? Why is libertarianism better than authoritarianism? What you'll do is you'll have your grid of evaluation for a theory. You will analyze the consequences of that theory and confront those consequences with your grid of evaluation. You'll do a check. Oh my God, that's not good. That's not good. And that's not good. You mean this is an anti-value. This is an anti-value for yourself. Okay? And just because there are popular values, and when I say liberty, peace, harmony, cooperation even, their values, their tendencies, they're very popular values. For instance, libertarianism has as values life, liberty, property. Okay? It claims those as rights. It calls them natural rights. In my view, once again, it's wrong. There are no such things as natural rights unless you want to put that label on them. What you got is uncoercive natural abilities, like the ability to live, the ability to control yourself and do stuff and interact with the world, and to acquire property, to transform things. You've got those abilities. If nobody else takes them away from you, denies them to you. So to have rights, you always have to have a counterpart to yourself. Otherwise you just have abilities. Right? You can do stuff. When there are other people, there are rights. Because there's a claim that you do, and the other people either goes along with that claim or denies you your claim. You're said to have a right if the other people does not object to your claim, allows you to exert your ability, your natural abilities. Right? Totally right. But that's natural. It's just as natural to grant someone the power to fulfill his abilities than to deny them. Everything happens in nature. To call them natural rights it's just an expression. As long as we know what we're talking about, I think it's cool. I prefer to call them negative rights, because positive rights are natural too. They are born out of people's natural desires to, as everything else, to do things for others, and what they're essentially doing is because they themselves want to do certain things for others, and they would like to see other people do the same things for others. If they have the power, meaning the physical force or the resources to gather that physical force, they will, some people, many people, will impose on others those same things that they are willing to give to others. And that's natural. If we don't feel the need or the desire to do those things for others, we will object. Okay, we will object. That's things that happen in reality. But how can you persuade someone? That's what I'm saying. Are you prepared to not have debates, to not try to persuade someone? What is the role of persuasion? What is the role of force? When is force to be allowed? What do you think, moral nihilists? We need to start addressing these issues. We really need to start addressing them. Give me your thoughts. Bye.
Survivor.